Team Junkyard Dog here today, and we are making our final build video on Zeek. Today we are going to finish, because I've already started, but we're going to finish attaching his wedge. And I'm going to show you how we're doing it and what we use to do it. And also keep in mind that we have some really exciting videos coming up in the near future. This is going to be the chassis of Big G, which is going to be our egg beater. This is not the actual chassis, this is just going to be a pattern. We're going to cut it out of HDPE. We're also going to have Tyrone videos on Tyrone 3.0, which this is one, a belt driven, using the 3D printed chassis from Thingiverse called Backlash, and that's the belt drive version. And I also have this modification that I made to the Backlash chassis. I moved the motor mount up to the front so it can be direct drive with no belt. And we're going to do testing on the two different chassis. And these are printed with 100% infill. They are solid PETG. So we need to do durability tests on these to see how well they can take a hit. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and start attaching the wedge for Zeek. Okay, so here is Zeek and kind of what he's going to look like in his final form. What we're using for a wedge is stainless steel piano hinge. And this stuff is about 3 millimeters thick of stainless steel. And what's beneficial about this hinge is it will move along the ground with the bot, kind of like fingers would, or any other type of like active wedge. And I'm going to show you how we're attaching this. Of course, as always, this is the mock-up phase. It's not going to be the final phase. We're always going to fine-tune and make adjustments, use different hardware, etc. And there you have it. What we're using, this is a 3/4 inch thick piece of HDPE. And what I did is I ran a bolt through the front with a recessed hole all the way through the front of the chassis. And then we're just going to bolt the wedge to this. We're going to have two of these. This is the actual pattern that I came up with. This part goes under the bot so you can make another attachment through here, and you can attach the chassis here, and then the wedge will screw in through here. And the way I came up with this shape is so it can sit like this. I don't know how well you can see that, but so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I drilled this out. We're going to attach this other one to the chassis. And then we're going to go ahead and finish mounting this wedge. And after that, it'll just be testing phases. But let's go ahead and get this wedge connected. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm slightly angling this. You can see there's a flat spot on the front. So we know that the hole for the bolt is going to be around here. But I want it to hit the center of Zeek up here. So all I do is I'm just kind of drawing a guideline that's going to go basically how I want the drill hole to go, and that's going to leave me these two areas for attaching the wedge without hitting this other bolt. So let's go ahead and drill this guide hole out. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of get this started. And now that I got the drill bit starting to bite, I'm just going to kind of turn it this way. And drill slow. You don't want it to end up in your finger. Here's our hole. And then what I like to do is I'll take a much larger drill bit. And I like to just do a little bit of a recess. You don't want to go too far. Point for that recess is the hinge comes right across here. So by putting that recess hole, when I put the bolt through, it hides the head of the bolt, so it does not interfere with the wedge. So let's go ahead and get this attached to the bot. Okay, so we've marked where I want this other bumper to go. And you can see that when I put it up, it doesn't sit flush because of this rivet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grind a little area out of this so it'll sit flush before I mark my hole. And there you go. Now we can go ahead and mark where we're going to drill through our chassis. The way I like to do that is I will just hold this where it's going to be, put the bolt in, like so, and then just whack the bolt. What does that do? Leaves us a nice little impression right there where we need to drill through our chassis. Now all we need to do is slide that on, and then on the inside, if you can see in there, we're just going to put a washer and a nut. Okay, now that we have both of our wedge blocks in, what I'm going to do is just take the wedge and kind of line it up. And now is the time where you want to take an extra moment to make sure your wedge is nice and level with the ground and how it's going to sit. And then all we have to do is mark a couple drill spots where we're going to attach the wedge and just drill those out. And as I did with the plastic, you can see what I did here. I'm going to use a larger drill bit and just put a bevel just putting a bevel on the hole so the screw will slightly recess in, so it's less likely to get broke off in battle. Alright, so now that we have our holes drilled, we're going to go ahead and reattach the wedge again. Line this side back up to get it level. Doesn't really matter height wise, because as this comes up or goes down, you can see how the wedge is active and will follow the floor. And now I'm just going to drill these out, or pre-drill them. That way our screws go in nice and straight. And for attaching this, I'm just planning on using wood screws. Let's go ahead and screw it down. Because believe it or not, a wood screw in HDPE, you're more likely to break the screw head off than you are for that screw to back out or get stripped out. Because if you look at, that didn't hurt. It's hard to see on camera, but there's a cut through this stainless wedge all the way to the chassis, and this has always been held on by wood screws in this HDPE, and that was from French Revolution both times, and it cut through the steel, but this wedge has never even thought about coming loose. This bot has been beat up so much, and it's all just wood screws and plastic. So we have proven it to ourselves that it works, and now you can see that our wedge is attached. So now we're just ready to add a lid and do some testing. Okay, so now Zeek has his active wedge. It's going to be a very tough wedge. It's not as tough as titanium, but it will be close, and this hinge definitely will not break because it is actually a steel bar all the way through the entire thing. So we're looking forward to hammering on this a little bit and testing it out. So all we have to do now is put a top plate on, and we're going to throw it in the battle box with That Didn't Hurt, but that's going to be an upcoming video. So I hope this video helps you out or gave you some ideas. Team Junkyard Dog, and we're out.